We're live. That was it. It was easy enough. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the next panel for Tropic Live. We're here with Second Rounds NYC. They're going to be putting on a show for you today, so enjoy.
All right, thanks, Patrick. I really appreciate that. What's going on, everybody? It's Tommy James, aka Mr. Oh So Smooth, aka the Smooth Effect himself, and I'd like to welcome you to the Who You Got Challenge Summer Blockbusters. Yes, you guys are not getting yourself a summer blockbuster this year, so let us bust your summer. Now, here we are. We're going to do some pretty cool things. We got 2 movies. We got 2 panels, 1 and 2. Hey, look at you. So what we're going to do is we have Ghostbusters that's going against Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. We're going to go around the horn real quick. Of course, again, you know, I'm Tommy James, Mr. So Smooth. I will be your referee for this evening. You can go on Second Rounds Instagram on our story to vote. And Vic, me and you were talking about this. If you
Very
go
exciting.
ahead and you vote on our IG page and you message us and you hashtag which movie you voted, you have an opportunity. You are getting entered to win a special edition Ghostbusters Steelbook set, DVD set number 1. I really like the cover.
You showed me this, and I was like, I want that.
Yeah, I want it too. Can we
It's
be
almost like Criterion Collection sort of quality, sort of like
Right.
that. It's classy, just classy.
Oh, yeah.
It's classy, and as long as you do it, it's the only opportunity you have to win. But now it's time to get into the nitty gritty. Let's go all the way to the Ghostbusters side. None other than the man who has Ghostbusters, Mr. Sin City.
It's good to be here. I'm very excited for this. And I got to say, it's nice to actually be competing this year because last year it was my partner versus Matt's partner at LI Tropicon. And today I get my shot. I'm ready.
Alrighty, and let's go on to your tag team partner, Mr. Lex on Dex.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Lex on Dex, the most original and diverse indie label in Brooklyn. And I'm just excited that you guys are joining us here today at this special Who You Got Challenge. So let's get this party started.
All right, jumping over to Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the man who has Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and owns the hat itself, Mr. Malave.
How you doing, Tommy? Yeah, how you doing, everyone? Matthew Malave, aka Mr. Malave. And like Vic said, I was on the outside looking in last year at LA Tropicon, but now we're fighting for this vacated, beautiful title belt right now. We're the opponent. Beautiful movies. I can't wait to get into it.
All right, we're going to go over to your tag team partner. She's the knowledge bomb, baby. From the Phoenix Gate. The lovely, the beautiful Jade Phoenix.
Hello, what's up, guys? It's your girl Jade Phoenix here, and we are going to kick their butt because even though Lex beat me last year, I'm getting my revenge. I will have it.
Oh, you hear that? And of course, we're not alone, ladies and gentlemen. All the way representing the Florida edition, we got the man himself, Mr. Money himself, Big Money Eddie. What's up, Big Money?
What's up? This is the Grand Wizard of Pop Culture talking to you guys. What's up, everybody? Just good to be here in Florida. Thankfully, the storm is moving way past us. We're just getting a little bit of rain right now, so we're all good over here. It's just a little bit of refreshing rain to deal with. But I'm excited to talk about these films because it's not an easy choice. Let me tell you right now, the audience at home has to really think about the arguments, okay? And you should really not just pick what's your favorite. I want you to listen to the arguments that they are presenting about why these films are the best. Listen to the arguments.
Thank you, Big Money. We really appreciate that. And you should definitely listen to what Big Money said and listen to the arguments. Now, this is how it's going to go. We are going to take turns going back and forth. This is like a courtroom. And I'm the judge and you're the jury. So who won the coin flip? Vic, you won the coin flip?
You can go first.
That's right. Okay, great. So as you know, Big Money is there in case you need him. We will always allow Big Money to get his thoughts in as well. So you got 10 minutes on the clock, Mr. Malave and Jade. And it starts right now.
And it starts with a bang. I have Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, and let me just tell you, if you haven't seen this movie, you're doing yourself a disservice. It came out in 1981 and it grossed over $389.9 million. You're talking about that in 80s? Jesus Christ. It stars Harrison Ford and Kristen Allen. She's very beautiful, very beautiful. This movie has it all. Let me tell you, it has suspense, it has action, it has thrills, and it has a badass action sequence. Actually, action sequences. I think the whole movie is pretty much just in your face, like, oh, don't look directly into the light, Jade. I tell you that. Don't look directly into the lights. Not only that, in this time, it was nominated for 8 Academy Awards and it won 5, including Best Art Direction, Film Editing, Sound, Visual Effects, and Special Achievement Award for Sound Effects Editing. Now, let me tell you, talking about clean sweep, you're clean sweeping. That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, we're talking about the highest grossing film of 1981, and it has been adjusted for inflation to still be the highest grossing film of the time.
That's true.
That's true. We're talking about, this is one of the greatest films ever made. It's critically acclaimed across the board.
It has nearly a perfect score in Rotten Tomatoes.
Like, that is very
Still
hard
to this day.
achieve. Even there's no, like, you'll be hard pressed to find a film critic or a history buff that does not sit there and say that Raiders of the Lost Ark was what made them go into film, was what made them go into either archaeology, geology, all sorts of the different sciences because of Indiana Jones.
Not only that, one of our own esteemed person, Big Money Eddie, went into teaching history because of Indiana Jones. It just shows how much of an influence this movie has had, and not only on people who have seen it, but I'm talking about games and I'm talking about other movies. Now you're talking about movie games like Tomb Raider and Uncharted. Those are direct influences from Indiana Jones. And you're talking about the mummies of the world. You're talking about National Treasure. They're all part of the same little bubble that Indiana Jones, this movie, started. I'm talking about the nucleus of it all.
Talk about legacy right there, Matt. It's just legacy itself. That's what makes this franchise so amazing. And let's just talk about star power.
Yeah.
We're talking about one of the few actors who's been in the top grossing films of the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. Okay. Yep. We're talking about star power right there. When you think about a star, Harrison Ford is a star.
And not only that, the connections with the people who are also in it, like Steven Spielberg is the director of this movie, and George Lucas worked on this movie as well.
He wrote it.
Yeah, so like,
don't forget John Williams, who composed the score, the legendary John Williams, who's one of the great composers of all time, if not the greatest.
Oh yes, for sure. I mean, come on, who doesn't like the Indiana Jones theme song?
According to Empire's magazine list of the 500 greatest movies of all time, Raiders was only beaten by The Godfather.
Yep.
It is ranked number 2 out of 500 movies of all time.
Yeah.
The Godfather is the only one that can beat it, and honestly, rightfully so.
And you're talking about historical moments in the movie as well. I mean, everyone knows that moment of that huge boulder that comes chasing after Indy, and it's only happened in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and that has been duplicated and spoofed like just 10 times over. You know, you're talking about spoofs in the Rugrats. You're talking about even that iconic run when he's like, start the plane. That's you watch Pirates of the Caribbean 2. I think that's Dead Man's Chest. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
and you got Johnny Depp running, and that whole same shot, it's almost shot for shot from Indiana Jones.
It's true.
You know, and in 1999, it was actually deemed, sorry about that. I want to make sure it was deemed from the Library of Congress as in the National Film Registry as culturally historic. So it's in the history books, guys, as just part of movie lore. So if you ever want to make a action adventure movie, you go watch Indiana Jones and you'll see how you do it. You know, on top of that, you got all the special effects in this movie for the time. It was just astonishing. I mean, we look back on it now and it's not like, you know, what we see today.
No, I'm going to stop you right there. You can watch this movie now in 2020 and still sit there and be like, wow.
Such amazing effects, amazing acting, and it was something that you forgot to mention, Matt, when you talked about this movie has
5 minutes on the clock. There, 5 minutes on the clock.
One of the beautiful things that this movie has is comedy too. This movie's funny.
Oh, yeah.
This movie's funny. Like all the scenes with the snakes, the banter between Kristen Allen and Karen Allen, sorry, and Harrison Ford, amazing. Salah, John Rhys Davies, it's an amazing film, just an amazing, very well structured film.
Yeah, and you talk about character development. I mean, even in that, I think it's probably one of the most iconic first 5 minutes in a movie, because right there and there, you see how smart Indy is. You see how courageous he is, and you see how much how quick-witted he is as well. But then also you see one of his weaknesses right away. I hate snakes. It comes out right away. And then throughout the whole entire movie, we have a great arc of a criminal villain arc in our villain. And one of the most iconic monologues at the end when Indy goes, when Indy's trapped in the tomb, and then he goes, well, perhaps in a few years, you'll be worth something too. And then you'll see, and then this is part of what you said, Big Money. You see Indy just go, son of a, and kind of like just biting.
Son of a biscuit.
Yeah. and it's rated PG, so we don't have any crude language even in the movie. But it was a nice little nod that is just like, oh, you son of a. But then even so, you would think, that would be the end of Indy when he just like gets trapped in the tomb. Mm-hmm. Nope. He finds another way to do it and another way to come out on top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, honestly, we're talking about Indiana Jones is an icon. Entertainment Weekly listed Indiana Jones as like the third favorite action hero of all time. Of all time. This movie has everything. You're talking about, it has suspense, it has car chases. Man, Indy rode a horse. He rode a horse in this movie.
So one of the things that I really love about this film is how it takes. You really think this movie, in the best sense possible, is a hodgepodge, kind of like, and we can all, and when we get to Ghostbusters, we can also kind of talk about that too. But this movie's like a perfect mix of everything, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. It's Nazis, evil Nazis that you have to fight.
Right.
It's history that you have to decode. What is the mystery behind these puzzles and things like that? It's action and adventure. It's all these amazing, iconic scenes, one after the other. You have Indiana Jones, Henry Jones Jr.
Junior. 2 minutes on the clock.
Indiana Jones is the perfect mix between a history professor and James Bond.
Yep.
So much so that in The Last Crusade, they wanted to hire Sean Connery to be his father, because it would be James Bond being Indiana Jones's father. So that's how iconic this character is. That who's the only daddy that Indiana Jones got? James Bond.
Well, it's not just the iconic of the iconography. I can talk today of the movie itself. We're also talking about a soundtrack that inspired so many people to learn how to play the trumpet.
Yeah.
To play.
Yeah, the score itself. The score itself makes the movie as well. Like it's beautiful.
Like you just no.
Yeah, man.
Sorry.
You're talking about Save the Day. You have your campy moments that you have in there too. But you know what? Every moment of this movie hits, and it's just a nonstop thrill ride from the beginning to the end. There's even parts where you would get scared yourself, and it makes you even want to question if you do want to open your eyes and check out the light, which you shouldn't, because on top of that, people die in so many great ways. You got people getting shot up by arrows. You got a gunshots. You got people getting burnt up, melted down. Like, I'm telling you, this movie has it all.
And perhaps the best mix of comedy and action, the scene where the guy with the sword is twiddling around and Indiana goes like, I'm not going to fight you. Shoots him and then just walks away.
30 seconds.
And believe it or not,
repeated over and over again.
And believe it or not, that wasn't even originally written in there. That was all off the top of the dome by my man Harrison Ford, who killed this shit. Stuff. And it spawned a bunch of sequels, and it just created Raiders of the Lost Ark as the most iconic.
Started the franchise. And you know what? Seriously, we ain't afraid of no ghosts.
So bring it, Indiana Jones.
And that's it time. All right. Great job, guys. Very interesting. I learned a bit today. Not too much. But of course, I'm going to say it again. Go to Second Rounds on IG. That's 2ND rounds. And you can go ahead and vote for Raiders of the Lost Ark if you'd like, but make sure if you do vote for Raiders of the Lost Ark, go ahead into our message and make sure you hashtag Raiders of the Lost Ark because you have an opportunity to win again. Ghostbusters Steelbook Blu-ray DVD. Let's move on to Ghostbusters. I heard him talking to me. It's time to talk about Ghostbusters. Let's talk about Ghostbusters. Vic, you got 10 minutes on the clock and let go.
So you'll learn very quickly that when Malave speaks, he says a whole lot of nothing. And from what I heard from that, I didn't hear anything that shows me why this movie should be the best summer blockbuster. Now, let me educate you a little bit. Ghostbusters, June 8th, 1984, only a $30 million budget, made $295.7 million. Yes, less than Indiana Jones. I will acknowledge that. But the legacy that this movie has left will destroy Indiana Jones any day. And I'm going to talk about that later, but right now let's get into Ghostbusters. The idea of Dan Aykroyd. He called it the family business in the movies that made us. His father wrote the book, The History of Ghosts. His grandfather communicated with ghosts using the radio. His mother saw dead ancestors at the bed. And his great-grandfather, who held seances and is a renowned spiritualist. 20 years of research goes into make this movie. Ivan Reitman, the director, you might know him from Animal House, Meatballs, and Stripes. And it's because of Stripes that he was able to bring in Harold Ramis to help him finish this script. The wild card, Bill frickin' Murray. Everybody loves Bill Murray. And this is another thing. He was also in Stripes. He also worked. And he was the wild card because they weren't sure what was going to happen, but we know the end result. This movie only had 1 year to get it done, and it had many obstacles and a lot of opposition from the outside. I'm telling you, naming rights, you had the Ghostbusters Kids show from 1975. They eventually got that thanks to Frank Price, the man who greenlit this movie, going from Columbia to Universal Studios and allowed this deal to happen to allow them to have the name. So if you've never seen Ghostbusters, I highly suggest you see it. But basically, 3 scientists are fired, and they open up a paranormal investigation and hunting agency. They find their first ghost at the Sedgwick Hotel, Slimer, and that's an epic scene in the ballroom. They're destroying everything, and at the end of the day, they are successful. They become famous. They add a 4th Ghostbuster. You even have a montage, the sign of the 80s. Every great 80s movie has a montage. Let me just say right now that this is the most successful comedy of the 1980s, and things are about to go from bad to worse, and you need to watch it if you've never seen it. Now, we're going to go into the legacy. Now, we're going to go into what Ghostbusters has actually done. Boss Films, the special effects studio, was founded in due to the budget of Ghostbusters. Some of this budget went to finding this studio. So when you look at it and say it has a higher budget than Raiders of the Lost Ark, at the end of the day, most of it went to finding a special effects studio, some of the greatest people from ILM, which, by the way, you're talking about how great Indy looked. A lot of these people worked on Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they jumped ship to do Ghostbusters. I'm talking about people that did the Star Wars movies, the best of the best. And it leaves a legacy because this special effects studio was the first to transition successfully from physical media, from tangible real world objects to CGI. And if you look at the list of the CGI artists who started their career there, it would blow your mind, but I don't have the time to talk about that today. We're talking about Ghostbusters, the first comedy to use special effects, which in part is why people weren't too sure if it would do too well. And at the end of the day, comedies now have special effects, and you can thank Ghostbusters. You can thank that part. And if you want to talk about the Library of Congress, guess what? It also selected Ghostbusters for preservation in the National Film Registry, finding it culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. This was in 2015. Now, we're talking about multi-billion-dollar empire that rivaled even Star Wars. We're talking about the real Ghostbusters, which lasted for 7 seasons, 140 episodes from 1986 to 1991, which spawned its own media empire. I'm talking toys, apparel, and video games from the real Ghostbusters. Extreme Ghostbusters, 1 season in 1997. It sucked. We're going to move on from that. We're talking multiple video games. We're talking for the PC, Nintendo Entertainment System, and the Sega Genesis. And why am I talking about video games? Because I am the video game guy. And I have a fact for you. 2006 2009, the Ghostbusters game actually continues the story after Ghostbusters 2. Thanksgiving 1991, you are a brand new recruit. The original voice actors lend their likenesses and their voices to actually continue Ghostbusters. And speaking of sequels, we have Ghostbusters 2, which came out in 1989. Didn't do as good as the original, but people still liked it. And unfortunately, you also have to look at the worst of your past. Ghostbusters 2016 remake, at the end of the day, it bombed. It had mixed reviews, but whether you liked it or not, you're talking Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, Ivan Reitman, and Annie Potts.
5 minutes on the clock there, Vic. 5 minutes.
Thank you. Who played the secretary, were all making cameos in this movie. No matter what you think, at the end of the day, it still continues, and the new one should be out, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, was delayed to the beginning of 2021. So Ghostbusters is still fresh on the mind. Ghostbusters is still going strong, as opposed to Indiana Jones, which you haven't seen a movie since about, 2007? We're talking comic books. 1988 it started. They're still releasing comic books. We've had comic books come out in 2020. We've got the toys. We all know the toys. We all know the toys. We love these collectibles. And let me just say, because there was also food, shout out to High C Ecto Cooler in the 90s. You gotta love that Ecto Cooler. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to this. Ghostbusters is a multimedia franchise, a summer juggernaut that's still going strong. Indiana Jones may have the legacy, but we'll go into why it's still not around. But I'm going to pass the ball real quick to my partner, who has to tell us a little something about a man named Ray Parker Jr.
Yes, I do. And by the way, that was amazing startup right there, because I'm pumped right now. And you guys should all be pumped as well, because if you have not seen Ghostbusters, where have you been living? What under a rock situation do you got going on? Because this movie does have that longevity. It's still relevant now. And one of the main reasons it is still relevant today is because of Ray Parker Jr., one of the best theme songs to be written and performed for a movie ever. Even the 80s, 90s, this perfect use of the instrumentation. We know the 1980s sound involved a lot of the funk, the synthesizers, great lyrics, and we know a lot of great theme songs for TV shows that come out back then. But now we have a great theme song for a movie that goes like this. Not, if you ever not seen the movie, you've heard this song. You've been to a Halloween party, you probably heard that song being put on. If you've been to a cosplay event, you probably have seen people cosplaying in Ghostbusters uniform with the proton packs, with the ecto.
Shout out to the Long Island Ghostbusters, who I know was actually at LI Tropicon last year.
That's true. Awesome group of people. They fucking do well. They do well. They do well. They do well. But I just want to say this theme song just resonates. Now, in the first once the movie was released, this is one of the few movie soundtrack songs that has been on the Billboard 100 for 3 weeks straight. Now you're talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark with your song right there. This actually broke commercial success as a theme song specifically geared for the movie. Everybody knows when there's something strange in your neighborhood, you know how to respond every single time. When you hear that, when you hear the synthesizers line, you know what you're getting, and you hear that to this day.
And Lex, let me just add one more thing. It's in the real Ghostbusters.
Yes, it's in the cartoon. It's still applicable to everything that's happened after Ghostbusters. It's hand in hand and alone. Again, it still kind of knocks.
2 minutes on the clock there, Lex.
It's a bop. You can hear right now. You're gonna get excited. You know what you're thinking about. You know what you're getting, and it just blows apart the impact of a lot of soundtracks of the 80s of that time, including Raiders. Great, amazing song.
Sorry. Go ahead, Lex. Finish.
Please, Eddie.
No, go ahead.
So
go ahead.
here's the other thing that we need to talk about Ghostbusters. And just like Raiders of the Lost Ark is like this really good hodgepodge and mix, like a good DJ mix of different genres mixed together, so is Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is primarily a comedy, yes, but it's also really well done sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
It is really well done horror and suspense. It is really well done action as well. Don't tell me those action sequences aren't really good. They're really good.
It's even romance.
And it's a romance as well. So you have another, it has so many genres mixed in together. And it not only does that right, it also has the benefit of it also being ad-libbed. This is a film that almost every scene is improvised in some form or another. They had a really strong script and they kept adding to it. So you're letting your actors breathe these characters and give it new life. This is one of the most amazing films when it
30
comes
seconds on the clock. 30 seconds.
when it comes to planning, when it comes to acting, when it comes to special effects. It
Hey, Eddie,
is.
I have a quick last word before we continue because we do have to get off of this.
You do.
If you watch at the end credits very closely, as the Ghostbusters are driving away, you're going to see 3 priests in the back giving the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man his last rites. And with that, Matt, I just read you your last rites.
All right,
got
time
him.
from there. Great job,
That was
guys. That was
cute.
very good. That was very good. Before we get into our rebuttals, I'm going to send it over to Big Money Eddie. Do you have anything you want to say real quick about these movies? I'm going to give you 2.5 minutes on the clock. Go ahead, bud.
So real quick, talking about certain things that every side could talk about each other. Indiana Jones is basically like Alan Quatermain and King Solomon's Mines. So it's basically a ripoff of that. But at the same time, Ghostbusters, there was a little show that was from the 70s that was also called Ghostbusters.
Mhm.
And there was a big problem. There was a huge problem with naming the film Ghostbusters because of that TV show. Originally it was Ghostbusters was going to be called Ghost Smashers. So during this rebuttal session, I would really like to see what each side has to talk about the originality of each of their franchises, because there is some copy pasting that happened here and there and everywhere in between. And as we talked about, both films are a mix of genres. So that's really good. So I really think that we need to focus on the originality of it and the creative forces behind it a little bit more during these rebuttals.
Alrighty. All right. That works. Perfect. And that means it is time for some rebuttals. Yes. So we're going to go back to Mr. Malave and Jade Phoenix. You, of course, have Indiana Jones.
Yes.
So it's time for you to rebuttal. Do you understand what rebuttal means?
Yes.
Good. Just wanted to check. Of course, don't forget, you can always go to 2ND Rounds on IG and make sure that's how you vote on our story. And of course, like I mentioned before, if you go and you message us and you hashtag what movie you picked, opportunity, it's always there. I'm not being favoritism, by the way. I'm just saying this is the only one that
Seems like it.
It's the only one that they had. I was not giving away my Indiana Jones collection.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, with that, I'll start my rebuttal. Why wouldn't you want to give away your Indiana Jones box set?
I'm not in this. Good luck.
Yes, exactly. It's because once you have it, you want to keep it and you want to keep watching it over and over and over. See, there's no giveaways here because you know what? This movie keeps on giving. And unlike Ghostbusters, this has everything. And it's not just a comedy. All right. Like you're saying, oh, this defined a comedy genre and this. This defined how movies are made afterwards. And if it wasn't for Indy, you probably wouldn't have that big budget and going to grab all those other people from our graphic, from all the graphic effects and everything. I know it's killing you. It's killing you, right? Because you said it yourself. You had to go to the indie people and go, hey, you want to work on this other movie? Oh, yeah, that seems pretty cool. I'll come and work over there too. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, honestly, you had Muppets. Excuse me. We had fire. We had snakes. We had giant boulders. We had everything. We didn't need Muppets.
That's true. That's true. The set
and
design.
then on top of that, you want to sit there and talk about your video games? Oh, you're adorable. Indiana Jones had an original video game based exclusively on this film, and it came out for Atari. So therefore, no. We're talking Atari. That is the godfather of all common main video games. If you're not even going to go far as Jaguar. I mean, hello, how dare you? We're talking about this led to your ability. This led to your ability to have your Ghostbuster games on Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Sega. We didn't need it because we were already established. And then when PlayStation came around, what did we get? We got Tomb Raider. That's what bye Bye, girl. Bye.
And not only that, you're talking about school. And yes, everyone loves the Ghostbusters song. Shit, I love the Ghostbusters song. But you know what? Did that Ghostbusters song win a Grammy?
No.
Yeah, I don't think it did. But you know what did win a Grammy? You know who did win a Grammy?
We did.
Yeah, that's right. For the original score. That's what happened in 1982. Yeah. So it might have had on the Billboard charts and everyone could sing it, but you know what? That Grammy is sitting right on that mantle right
and then
there.
on top of that, you want to brag about how
Accolades.
you were put into the Library of Congress? We were put in 1999. You had to wait until 2016.
These movies came out 3 years away from each other.
Why'd you have to wait so long?
Huh? What happened?
Not my time to speak.
Yeah. No, just putting it in there. Just putting it in there, buddy.
And Eddie wanted to talk about our originality on this film. Lucas, when he was writing this, wanted to create a original series, modern version of serial films for the 1930s and 1940s. Again, you would not have The Mummy and that franchise if you did not have Raiders of the Lost Ark. You would not have the National Treasure and National Treasure 2 without Raiders of the Lost Ark. You just would not have it. I'm sorry, not sorry at all. So, I mean,
and right now they're in development with HBO to actually spawn an indie show in 2021. So we'll see how that's going to go. Because you know what? Yeah. If you get it right all the other times, you don't really need a botch of a remake in 2016 or whatever it was.
And you could sit there and brag about your little cartoons all you want. We had a prequel series, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. We had a prequel television series, The Young Indiana Jones Adventures. We had those too. And they were very popular and actually ran for a lot more time than your little cartoon stuff.
Yeah, and you're talking about cosplay. Who did it want?
As well.
The novels as well.
Thank you, Big Money Eddie.
Yeah, exactly. And you can brag about your little comic books. Name one action adventure character in any of the little mangas or comic books that come out that isn't based on Indiana
I like
Jones.
her little voice, what she's doing there right there. That's really good. That's really good. And on top of all of that,
minute and a half to go.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And just to sum it all up, you have this iconic film right here. And as far as cosplay is concerned, who doesn't want to wear that hat? Who doesn't want to have that beautiful whip and do Indiana Jones adventures? Yeah, that's you versus everyone else out there. When you were a kid, you were riding around thinking you were Indiana Jones, finding different treasures in your house, and you were trying to always do that nice little switcheroo. Come on, man. Indiana Jones.
There's a whole subculture of people that do geocaching that sit there and say, look, I'm Indiana Jones of the suburbs.
You could definitely make an argument about escape rooms, and we would not have escape rooms right now without Indiana Jones.
Thank you very much. Do you have ghost escape rooms? No, there's people they're called haunted houses in and
they only come around one time a year.
That's it. Maybe. That's it. People actually pay all year round for escape rooms. Thank you, Indiana Jones. We love you.
Yeah, we would.
Raiders of the Lost Ark here is the better movie.
30 seconds.
The better summer blockbuster movie. You wouldn't have Ghostbusters if you didn't have Indiana Jones. They redefined the genre, and all you did was try to take every little thing that worked and try to put it in your movie. Not to mention, Bill Murray wasn't even on set half the time.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, baby.
Honestly, he wasn't even supposed to be there in the first place. That was Belushi's part. Rest
Good
in
luck.
peace.
Everyone can strike lightly in a bottle once.
All right. Time. Okay. Very nice, guys. Great job on that one. We're going to move over to Ghostbusters now, and then we will get to Big Money and let him be able to also say what he would like to say. So, Ghostbusters, Mr. Cincetti, Mr. Lex on decks. You ready?
Born ready.
5.5 minutes on the clock, and we going right now.
At the end of the day, you cannot deny what was said, and you cannot deny the impact that Indiana Jones has. But my argument comes from a different point of view, because at the end of the day, the way I look at it, there's a reason why it took so long for us to get another Indiana Jones. And that's because he is an overrated product of the 80s that has no right in 2020. Let me elaborate a little bit. First of all, your setting is World War II, which is so cliche in film at this point. On top of that, it's a shortcut to audience sympathy. You have the Nazis, who are supposed to be this brutal people, like this brutal time.
I suppose they were.
They were.
I think they were. We all know how
silly in this movie. You shut up. I'm speaking. At the end of the day, even Spielberg himself admitted that they were silly, and he did it right when he came out with Schindler's List just 10 years later. Indy doesn't preserve his archaeological sites. He doesn't think about the bigger picture. He's actually horrible at his job. You think about Laura Croft, you think about Nathan Drake, who spawned from it. The reason why they spawned from it is because they did him better. At the end of that, you have racially insensitive subtext when it involves the non-white characters. I'm talking about the tribes. I'm talking about the Napoleon gunmen. And I'm talking about the Egyptians who, if they want to help Indy, they end up hindering him. Or they're on the other side and they just want to hurt him. They cannot be seen as good. And speaking of representation, you only have 2 females in this movie with spoken lines. One of them is Salah's wife, who only has 2 lines. So the other one's Marion. Where is your representation in this movie? It's toxic masculinity. Indy epitomizes the machismo, kind of like you, Matt. And that's why I know you picked them. I know this is what you like. But at the end of the day, Marion is the toxic masculinity with casual misogyny and always with the violence. He is not a product for 2020. And when we speak about Marion and Indy, well, in their first scene, she yells at him for taking advantage of her when she was a child. The novelization confirms that they slept together. She was 15. He was in his 20s. What kind of man is this to worship? And on top of that, we learn in Crystal Skull, he left her before the wedding. What kind of a man does this? And at the end of the day, it's a product of its time. It's America doing whatever they want overseas, being seen as this big, bad, strong unit, when at the end of the day, it just goes to show the politics of the time. And speaking back to Marion, who is written so inconsistently, where she's mostly a damsel of distress, but out of nowhere, she can survive herself. She doesn't need Indy. What kind of malarkey is that? I took that from your list, Eddie. On top of that, let's go into some plot holes. I'm talking about the submarine scene. How did he survive? A deleted scene and the comic book shows that he actually latches to the periscope. So if the sub submerged, you got splashing, he's getting wet, he's out at sea. How is he not dying of hypothermia? Apparently this guy is magic. Apparently this guy can do whatever he wants. And I think it's just silly. I think it's corny. I think it's been done better by everything you guys listed. And we're going to go to the prequel because Jay was talking about prequels and shows. Temple of Doom, which took place a year before, he faces the black magic occult. But in this movie, I don't believe in magic. It's a giant plot hole. You wrote it after the fact. I get it, but you didn't think that through. And at the end of the day, Nazi troops in Egypt would have been a violation of the Treaty of Versailles during World War II. And it was a British protectorate, which means it would have been seen as an invasion if they were there. It makes no sense. Let's go to your iconic cliche opening scene. The first, you said 5 minutes, actually 10 minutes. I saw the movie. It's been done to death. Even Chicken Run, a minute and a half, did the same exact thing. And they showed the boulder being set up. It's been done by The Simpsons. It's been done by Weird Al Yankovic. It's been done in Disaster Movie. It's been done to death, and it needs to die a miserable, miserable death. It's over. Indy is a product of the time, and he has no right to be here in 2020. And there's a reason why Ghostbusters is still going strong and has a strong backing. And there's a reason why Indy's been left in the past. And let me just end with this, because at the end of the day, the face melting scene, you guys are saying how great everything looks. I thought it looked like trash. I don't need the rest of the time.
All righty then.
Whew.
Thank you, Mr. Sin City. So right now we're going to move over to Big Money Eddie out there in the Sunshine State. Big Money, you can say anything you would like to say. You got 2 minutes. You know what? I'm going to give you 3 minutes and 3.5 minutes on the clock. Go to town, dude.
Okay, awesome. Just using my 3 minutes. We have about 10 minutes left in this whole thing in general. So just letting you know too as well, Tommy. Here's the thing about these two films. It's interesting that Vic decided to skip the part about the name of Ghostbusters not being original. And
I actually did mention it. You didn't hear it. I spoke about Frank Price moving from Columbia to Universal very briefly.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so there we go. Perfect. Now, as let's continue. These two films have a great mix, like we talked about, genre. So in many ways, even though they're so different, they're very similar in that they're a good like DJ mixing genres and creating something really new. You have an iconic score, whereas with in Indiana Jones, whereas in Ghostbusters you have an iconic song. You have iconic actors playing iconic characters. You have legacy, not just sequels. And in many regards, the Indiana Jones sequels are far superior. When we take into account Temple of Doom and Last Crusade, they are far superior to Ghostbusters 2. And if you count the weaker ones from both, you have Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and you have Ghostbusters 2016. That's up for grabs which one's worse, honestly. The truth is, you still have with Indiana Jones a few more films that are better, but when it comes to impact cosplay, there are many people who still dress as Indiana Jones, but there are many people who dress as Ghostbusters. So toys, you know how many people have bought the Ghostbusters toys?
Minute and a half, Eddie. Minute and a half.
Yeah. Ghostbusters toys, you have Indiana Jones toys. I would say that the merchandising for Ghostbusters is far superior than the one for Indiana Jones. Although I will say that the Indiana Jones media, in terms of TV shows and everything like that, I think outshined what Ghostbusters created. At the end of the day, the reason I'm trying to get this all out is because when the people start voting now, you have to consider that in many ways, these films, again, very different in many regards, but very similar. They're the start of a franchise. They started iconic characters. They have iconic lines. They are both preserved in the Library of Congress, in the National Film Registry, okay? That means that our country decided that these films are so important, that they need to be preserved for posterity. We cannot lose these films. That's what that means, okay? That is super impressive. These two films are titans, not just of 80s culture, but of cinema, okay? They are amazingly written, amazingly acted, and they are standing with us for the rest of time. So audience that is listening, put aside your preferences. Put aside anything that has to do with, well, I saw this film first and things like that. No. Focus on what was said from Vic's side and from Mr. Malave's side. And from that, choose who is the winner of this epic debate.
All right. And time, Eddie, I don't mean to cut you off, but yeah, we are getting ready to run out of time. So it's now time to say your final words. Mr. Malave, you got 1 minute. Vic, you get 1 minute, and then we're saying goodbye. We're going to start with Mr. Malave. You got your minute. Go.
At the end of the day, you're talking about iconicness. You're talking about the start of a franchise. You're talking about someone in indie that everyone wanted to be and every girl wanted to be with, right? You're talking about someone that masters adventure, that's smart and all intellect, and is a damn good fighter. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a summer blockbuster that was ahead of its time and paved the way for other summer blockbusters, redefined a genre, and you're talking about just beautiful. Just can I say it? Can I say porn? I think I can say it is beautiful. Just action adventure porn. That's all I'm gonna say. Indiana Jones, as far as Grammys and Oscars are concerned, they are second to none. I'm talking about the greatest summer blockbuster is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
All right, Vic, you're up. Go.
At the end of the day, it comes down to this. As Eddie said, you're going to listen to both arguments and you're going to make your own decisions. But at the end of the day, the question is not which is your favorite movie, which is, in your opinion, the better movie. It is the better summer blockbuster. It's the one that had the most impact, the one that still is going strong today, and the one that changed the game. When I look at Indiana Jones, I see Star Wars's little ugly stepbrother. At the end of the day, the John Williams music doesn't hold up because at the end of the day, Star Wars was better. The script doesn't hold up because Star Wars was better. And you wouldn't have Indy without Star Wars. So all you people are saying, you wouldn't have this without Indy. You wouldn't have that without Indy. You would have had it because of Star Wars. Make your vote. Thank you for listening. I think I've embarrassed these idiots enough.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, it's over. It's time to say goodbye. So we're going to start with Big Money Eddie. Say your sign off, sir.
Signing off, Big Money Eddie, Grand Wizard of Pop Culture. Signing off from Florida. Please listen to the Second Round's Florida edition, where me and Ashley Sashbox talk about pop culture and all the obscure things that we love.
Thank you, Jade.
Yeah, tune in to the Phoenix Gate. We are coming back on this Wednesday. So, follow us on IG, follow us on Facebook. We love you. So bye. Vote Raiders because that sucks. Over there.
Lex.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in with us. Hope you guys had fun. We had a lot of fun here. Make sure you again follow us, check us out. Also follow me at Lex on Decks, LEXONDECKS, for some great music and some more originality.
Mr. Malave.
Everyone, thank you so much. I had a great time here debating with my foe over there and the Ghostbusters movie that is weaker than Indiana Jones. Mr. Malave here, and go vote on our story for the better movie, which is Indiana Jones. And follow me also, MISTAMALAVE, Mr. Malave, and vote. Go vote. Everyone vote. Go.
Mr. Sincetti.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you for whoever is voting or has voted. Reminder, it is open at 2ND rounds. Reminder, Tommy is holding the DVD. If you send us hashtag the movie you voted for, you're going to get this DVD. But yeah, you're going to vote for whatever you guys vote for. And I hope you make the right decision. See you soon.
All right. Thank you. My name is Tommy James, a.k.a. Mr. Oh So Smooth. I am your referee for this amazing matchup. I wish I was involved, but I'm not. Again, like Vic said, 2ND rounds. Vote on the story. Hashtag
all day.
Just want to say, for an opportunity to win this, not everybody's going to get one. There's only one. So again, thank you so much. Thank you, Big Money Eddie, for joining us all the way in Florida.
No
thank you, Jade, for of course being here and always killing it as always. Knowledge bomb, baby. And thank you to Long Island Tropicon. We'll see you guys next year, hopefully face to face for a bigger challenge that I hope I'm a part of.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Bye.
Go vote all day. 2ND rounds. Peace. LA Tropic, we love